Coming up on episode 125 of Creative Writing, I'm talking all about how to create a Facebook group.
I can't go back to sleep, it's almost light. These restless thoughts have kept me up again tonight.
Hey, creatives! It's Kirsten from Creative Writing, and I'm so glad that you are here. This is a space for writers, bloggers, and creatives who want to build an online platform without being smarmy. And we have some smarmy topics coming up today. If you're ever listening and you're not sure what that means, I like to kind of define it as that kind of sleazy car salesman feeling. And I'm sorry, car salesman, you're not all sleazy. Just like all salesmen aren't sleazy, but sometimes we get that gross, icky feeling. And that's what smarmy is. It really encapsulates that whole thing. So today we're talking about Facebook groups, how to create them. And I'm also going to talk a little bit about how to behave in them. I might get a little ranty in this episode. I feel very passionate about Facebook groups, and that passion may come through. But I would love to talk with you about how to create a Facebook group because I think they are massively important. They have only grown in importance as I've had the podcast. So I started the podcast in 2015. We're coming up on 3 years, which is insane. And I've had a couple episodes about Facebook groups. You can go back and listen to episode 16. And I'm like a little nervous to say that because I'm like, did I have an editor then? Did I have my process figured out then? I don't know if I did. So it may sound really different, but I've got Katie Krimitsos talking about how to leverage Facebook groups. And then in episode 70, I talk just really specifically about how to not be smarmy in Facebook groups. So I will cover some of the same things, but that's a great episode to listen to a little bit separately. It's very much how to behave in Facebook groups. So again, there will be some crossover, but I listened to it again to make sure I wasn't giving you guys the exact same info. And a lot of things have changed. So I will be giving you some of the updates and new tools that Facebook has for you to use in groups. So if you want these show notes and just, a way to visually look at things, I'll have some resources and links for you. This episode is 125. You can go to createifwriting.com/125 to get these show notes. And just as a welcome, if you are a first-time listener, I don't do this enough. Welcome. I'm so glad that you're here. Please reach out. We have an awesome Facebook community that you can join, meet other creatives. You can sign up for my email list and actually hit reply on my emails, and I will talk with you. That's one of my favorite things to do. So I would love to connect more with you, and I'm glad that you're here. So I will give out more links later. I've given out enough for now, and I want to dive into Facebook groups. Now, some context. In the last week's episode 124, I talked about Facebook pages. And so just to review and remind you guys, in case you're unclear about what these things are, you have a Facebook profile, and that's where you can add friends. It's the first thing you create on Facebook. You can't have a page without a profile. So it's probably your real name. I used to actually have a fake name. I was Kirsten Kiki O. I wanted to hide from a kind of psycho ex-boyfriend. And then Facebook suggested we be friends. So I was like, well, there goes that. Their algorithm knows people you are connected with and people that are connected through other people. And anyway, then they forced me to have a last name. So I am now Kirsten Kiki Oliphant on Facebook as a personal profile. Then you have a page, which is where people can like you, and you can have a certain number of likes, and that's a business page. And that's what we talked about last week, because Facebook has been doing a lot of changes, and many of them are really just iterations of changes they've done before. They continue to drill down and make pages work harder to be seen in the news feed. And that was just a big change they did, that they're going to do that even more hardcore. And so if you want to learn how to make your Facebook page work well, then you can go to createifwriting.com/124, or just whatever podcast player you're using, you can look for the last week's episode. So knowing that about Facebook pages and how the reach is dropping, a lot of people are saying, well, I'll just create a group. And that is a great idea. And I highly recommend it for many people. It's not the right thing for everyone. But for now, Facebook groups are relatively untouched by the algorithm changes that are happening to pages. I say relatively because there is an algorithm in groups. there are issues. And I've noticed huge changes this past year as Facebook said, hey, we're paying attention to groups now. And I went, oh no. As far as notifications, like I'm the group owner for creative writing and I don't see all the notifications. They don't show up. It's not that I don't even see them, like I miss them. They don't come into my notification area. So I actually have to go into my own group and see things. And then sometimes I see things twice. So anyway, there is not as much of a heavy-handedness to the way that Facebook is dealing with pages. They want more engagement. Groups are engaged, so they show them. So my whole feed right now, I have posts from friends, but I have a lot of posts from groups. I'm in a lot of groups. I'm active in groups. And when you're active, you see more. So what we're going to talk about today is we're going to look at the why you might start a Facebook group, which I kind of am just starting to touch into, but I just want to give you kind of an outline. Why, the tools that you can use to create a Facebook group, starting and growing your Facebook group, and then also behavior. And this is going to be more towards being a member in other people's groups. So let's talk about that why. So the big thing is why you should start a Facebook group is because pages are really difficult to grow right now. And even before this algorithm shift, I mean, I have a page that has 3,000 likes, which sounds small to some and big to others. It took me a long time to get there, especially because I wasn't actively working towards it. And many of those I think I built through giveaways and things that were not bringing me quality likes. And that means there's a lot of people who like my page who don't actually like it. They just liked it to enter a contest or I don't know why, no reason that's really good. Was not great organic growth. I didn't pay for the growth either through ads, but it just wasn't very helpful. So having a group, if you're struggling to grow a page, can be a good thing, but it's not easy. Like you can just not do anything and it'll grow. I've been growing creative writing almost since the beginning of the podcast. And so we have about 1,500 members. And I would say it took the longest, and I wish I'd tracked this, but I think it took the longest to get to 500 members. And then after that, it was a much quicker growth. But anyway, it is different. It does take a lot of work, but you can think about doing a group if you want to use Facebook, your page isn't doing much, people aren't talking there, and you want to have a deeper relationship. If you don't want a deeper relationship, don't create a group because that's really what it is about, is the engagement and the relationship. It creates a community. So when you have an email list, which I'm super passionate about email lists, that's one-to-one communication. It's one-to-many because you're sending to many, but it's one-to-one because if people hit reply, they get just you. So when you're in a Facebook group, instead of it being you and one other person or you to like a massive group, people can talk to each other. It's really amazing. And the creative writing group, I'm just really thrilled with how you guys are. So you guys listening who are in the group, I love you guys. You are fantastic. It is so fun for me to go in the group, see what you're talking about. If you're not in the group, you really should join the group, okay? It's creativewriting.com/community, and that will take you right there and you can join. So we do talk to each other. It's a place where it has its own sort of ecosystem, and we'll talk about how you kind of manage that. There is an algorithm still in terms of, maybe algorithm isn't the right word, but Facebook doesn't show everything to everyone. If your group is under, oh man, I read this and I'm not sure if this is one of those stats people make up or an official Facebook one, but I feel like if it's under 50 people or 100 people, you see way more of the group in your notifications. And then as it gets bigger, you see less. So like I joined a group that is active, but it's growing and it's under 100 people, and I get notifications all the time from that group. But if you are more active in a group, you will see more of it in your feed. So if you have an active group and you start to be active in it, your whole feed might get taken over. I'm in a group that's like 100,000 or maybe more, I don't know, it's crazy large for the Instant Pot. And if you don't know what that is, it's a pressure cooker that you can get. It's a specific brand, and the brand is brilliant. They started this group and it's crazy in there, you guys. So you can go for recipes. People complain. People are really kind of mean to each other in there. And I made the mistake of, I was looking for recipes and I liked a couple posts. And then for like a couple days, all I saw were Instant Pot posts in my feed. And I'm not that interested in the thing, you guys. I just want to cook my chicken faster. So I had to stop looking, I had to stop clicking, I had to stop liking or doing anything because it was sending Facebook the signal I wanted to see those posts. So if you're not seeing things, that's what you need to do, is go like and comment on that group. Go actually into the group and start, interacting, and then you'll see more. But there is still that algorithm in there. People are not going to see everything, and everyone in your group is not going to be active. there is that great sense of conversation in groups that you don't always have in pages. Now, I will say that some members of my group actually were talking about how they are treating their pages more like groups and communities. So in a way, it's sort of just like a mindset shift. And instead of thinking of the page as a means to an end, they are thinking about it as its own entity and really pouring into it. So I'm going to give a shout out to Lou Shelter and her page. I'm going to have to look it up because I just brought it up, but it's Amish Country in Ohio 101. And this page, she was talking about how she just treats this as a community and answers questions and talks to people. And it has 8,000 likes. And I'm looking at a post. It's a pin post, but it was from this year, and it's got 60, it's just a text post, and it has 62 shares on it. She has a lot of interactions on her posts here. And she said that, she built it just to see what she could do. And I think that's really amazing. So way to go, Lou, on this, and it's a very, the other thing you can kind of take from that, it's a very niche down page, Amish Country in Ohio. It's not just Amish Country, it's Amish Country in Ohio 101. 8,000 likes for people who want to talk about that. So you can actually treat your page more like a group and see what that does for you. But I would prefer the group. I think when you have a closed group, especially, you've got some privacy that you don't have on a page, because any troll can come into your page and start interacting. Whereas in your group, you have to let people in unless it's public. And I would not recommend having a public group. I think closed is the best way you can do it. So we're going to move into some tips. But those are some reasons you might want to start a group if you want to have an interaction, engagement, get your community actually talking to each other, and you want to have some impact on Facebook, but you don't want to pour any more into your page. I think those are all great reasons to start a group. So let's talk about some of the tools that have changed, especially in the last year, but it's pretty neat to see some of the things that you can do in your group now. So you can actually link your Facebook page to your group. Now, you don't have to have a page to have a group, but I suspect we're going to see more reasons that Facebook is linking those. And maybe in the future, you might have to have a page first. Just a guess, but we'll see. So you can link your page and group. And what that means when you link them, it is a good thing to do. I've heard of people saying, why unlinked them? I'll talk about how to handle that in a second, but you do want to link them because then when people find your Facebook page, they can see that you have a group. And when they're in your group, it can grow your Facebook page because they can go like it, because you'd think everybody who's in your group might like your page, but they don't, and vice versa. So you can link them. That means you can post in your group as your page. And there's a little drop down arrow. When you're doing a post, you'll see like a little round bit of your profile picture, and kind of, I think it's the upper right hand corner. And you can actually click a little drop down to post as yourself or your page. I will tell you, I get much better reach, and I have tested this when I post as myself, my personal profile, Kirsten Kiki Oliphant, not my page, which is just Kirsten Oliphant. So I get much better reach posting as my personal self than my page. And I think this speaks to the fact that eventually, Facebook has already tested running ads in groups. I know some big groups have talked about this. They're testing a lot of things, and I'm going to share some of the tools that are in one of my groups are not in another. So I'll get to that in a sec too. But I do believe they're going to start running ads into your groups. I do believe you're going to start to be able to run ads. I can see options to boost posts I have made as my page in my Facebook group. Now, when I've clicked on these, it looks like a regular ad. So it's not like I'm necessarily targeting my group. But again, I think that's only a few steps away. So some other things not related to linking. Here are the other things that matter. When you link, you also get insights about your group. And that comes in your left-hand toolbar menu on your Facebook group. And that goes away if you don't link them. So I went and checked a lot of this stuff, you guys, just to make sure, but it is changing. It's changing all the time. And I definitely can see they're testing things, but those insights are really important because you can go and see who's engaging, what posts are working, and things like that. They're not as detailed as the insights you'll get on your Facebook page, but it's still, really good to see. And one of our members, I have not tried this yet, but I think it was Krista. I'm trying to remember, and I don't have my Facebook page open in front of me, so I'm not going to get the notifications during this recording, but I think it was Krista, and she was saying that you can, this is something I know, if somebody likes your Facebook post as your page, you can go invite those people who liked a particular post to like your page. And she said she was actually able to do that within her group. For people who liked a post in the group, she could invite those people to like her page within the group. And so that's another benefit of posting as your page in your group. So this is why I define pages and groups and profiles in the beginning, because they're all sort of linked, and the language, a lot of times people talk and it gets muddy, and hopefully my brain thoughts and my words that come out of my mouth will get them right and I won't accidentally say the wrong one. But the insights are important. You can invite people to like your page. Some of the cool tools that you have now also, I've just seen this start up. You can welcome new members. There'll be like a little notification over on the right. Your group has grown by so many people this week. Welcome new members. And when you click it, it auto-populates a post with all those people tagged in the post. And you can change the wording above that to welcome them how you want. Maybe invite them to share a little bit about themselves, invite your group to say hi to them. And that's a great thing, because I think it's really helpful to welcome new members, but it's really hard to keep track of when I think I'm growing at about like 20 or so people per week right now. And that's a lot of people to keep track of. So you can welcome those new members. You can ask questions as people join the group. I'll give some tips on that in a minute, but that basically means before someone can join, they have to answer your questions. Now you can still let people in if they have not answered the questions. You'll see their requests, and either it'll show the answers to the questions or it'll have like a little gray thing like waiting on response. You used to be able to remind people to answer, but I don't see that option anymore. Even in people who are new, like if you'd already reminded them, you couldn't remind them again. But even in someone who like requested to join today, I didn't have the option to remind them. The words were there, but you couldn't click them. So that might be changing. One of my groups, and this is where you can see Facebook's testing, one of them has the coolest feature ever, and I just wish they'd roll it out. It's topics. So a lot of groups, to kind of keep things streamlined, will ask you to post something with a hashtag just so people can search and find things. And just as a side note, overall, Facebook search sucks. And so in your group, it also sucks. If you're trying to go find a post, I mean, I went and tried to find a specific post the other day, and I had written it, I knew the language I used, and I still couldn't find it. Their search just isn't good. So a lot of people will do those hashtags, like hashtag QQ for quick question. I've seen that one. But in one of my groups, it lets me choose topics. So like I can do questions, I can do, about the community. It's in my paid Facebook community, which is a like group of like 35 people. It's very small. And, but that one, for whatever reason, has the topics. I really want them in creative writing, the big group of 1,500 people, but I don't have it yet. Cannot wait for that to get out, because that is so great. So then in the sidebar of your group, you or the group members can go click on a topic and see all those posts. Can you imagine how helpful that will be? I'm so excited. Okay, the header size to groups has changed, and I don't know what they are yet, because I went and looked at posts, and apparently Facebook's telling you one size, but it's not rendering that way, and it's different on mobile and desktop. So whatever, I'll link to something in the show notes that tells you about the new size. But I noticed I had done all custom headers in my groups, and they all now are squished and weird, and it doesn't make sense. One other quick tool I want to mention about Insights, and this is a paid tool. I got a free trial and then decided not to keep it, but it's called Grytics, Grytics. And it will let you see some really detailed info, more than the Facebook group Insights. If you have your page linked to your group, Grytics actually goes deeper than that. And so if you are really focused on building a group and have some strategic purposes there where you're going to get money back, that's the only time I really think you should invest in things. So like, if you're like, oh, this will just be fun, so I'm going to pay for analytics. Well, that makes no sense. So unless you have like a plan for getting money back, don't invest a lot of money into it. So those are some of the really cool tools you have. I may be forgetting some, but those are the main ones that I think are really important to think about. Thinking about those and transitioning into starting a group, I want to talk about how to create a Facebook group and how to start one and what that looks like when you're just starting out. Or I know some of you guys have Facebook groups and they've been kind of dead and you want to revive them. So let's talk about how you can do that. The first thing I want to say is Facebook really needs to fix one feature, and that is adding members to a group. I really don't think you should be able to add anyone to a group without permission. When you form a group, you have to add someone. So I always think of like Grey's Anatomy, where they talk in one of the first seasons about like, will you be my person? Like that contact, the emergency contact, because a lot of them don't have family in town. So they talk about, will you be my person? And I have a person, and it's Matt McCarrick. hey, Matt, that I'm always adding to Facebook groups. It's either Matt or Paula Rollo. I'm always adding one of the two of them when I'm testing a new group or doing things, and Matt's just gotten totally used to it. But other than that person, and you can delete them right away and kick them out, but you have to add one person. But here's the thing. When you're in a Facebook group and you're creating it, there's a little part that says add members. And then you can kind of tag people, that you're already friends with, to add them. But it says invite, and it acts like, it makes you think you're just inviting them. Like they'll get a notification the same way you would if you're inviting someone to like your page, except that's not true. It adds them automatically. And that person will get a notification they've been added to the group, and it will say, okay, but they're already in the group. And it'll say like, leave the group or okay, but you're already in the group. Like you'll get notifications, people can tag you. And if you don't want to be in a group, if someone does this to you, because there are a lot of really kind of stinky salesy groups that are doing this, where they're adding you without permission. And then you leave and then they add you right back. So I think it's only on desktop, but there's a little thing you can check. Don't let people add me back. Facebook needs to fix this. This is driving me completely crazy. And people are getting mad. I got really frustrated this week because I was added to a group without permission. And then the person welcomed me as though I had joined. And then I left the group and then I was added back in the group. Come to realize I didn't know at first that it was someone I actually know, and we email all the time. And so you know who you are. I'm not calling you out on the show. I'm so sorry. Because I just felt really rude because I got really frustrated about it. And I didn't know it was you. And you didn't know that you were adding me automatically to the group because Facebook says invite. They need to change the language. They need to make it so you can't add people without permission. Rant over. But do be gracious. And I need to be more gracious when you get added to a group. Some people know the difference and some people don't. When you go there and it says invite, that's what you think you're doing. So don't get too mad at people. But realize that as a group owner, don't add people. When it says invite, don't do it unless people have told you specifically, like, I want to be in your group. Then maybe, but otherwise don't. So you can just tell people about your group. And that's something that, I mean, it sounds really obvious, but I don't always in my weekly emails on Fridays, the quick fix, remember to post a link to this Facebook group. But I have around 4,000 people on my list right now. And I'm due for a good cleaning to clean out a bunch of them. But I've got about that many on my list, and they're not all in the group, right? Because the group's 1,500 people, and all the people in the group are not in my email list. So when I send out the quick fix on Fridays, I've started putting a link in there, and every week I get people joining the group. Now I know where they're coming from because I ask tailored questions when they join. I have very specific targeted questions. And so that's one of the other things. Tell everybody about it and don't think it's obvious. You could use, even like your Twitter bio, tell people to join your Facebook group. On your Facebook personal profile, you might have people who are interested. Put that somewhere in your bio. You could also do that in your Facebook page. It's already linked. Maybe you put that up in the header, like come hang out in the Facebook group. Don't stop asking people. And then use those questions that Facebook allows you. I have 3. I think more than 3 would be annoying. 2 would be fine. 1 is fine. I know some people will use their group as like a bonus for signing up for the email list. So they'll have like a secret password. I like to have a question that says, how did you hear about me? Because I really like to know. So I get a lot of people that say, I'm on your email list. I'm on your email list. Like today I got a bunch of those. So welcome people that join from the email list. I have links to the Facebook group in my ebooks that are for sale on Amazon. And every day I get people coming in that are like, I bought your book on Amazon and now I'm here in your group. So anywhere you can think about putting a link, put a link, and then you can find out where they're coming from in those questions. I also like to let people know you can't just promote in my group and like, do you understand this? Yes or no? And I mentioned the fact that I have a podcast because as your group gets bigger, Facebook starts to suggest it. And especially if you have keywords like writing, which is creative writing, a lot of people find it and don't know who I am. They don't know about the podcast. They don't know about anything I do. They just think it's a group for writers. So I like to say in my question, I have like a statement too. I'm like, hey, this group is from me, Kirsten, and my podcast, Creative Writing. Here's the link if you want to go visit it. And then I'll ask a question after. But I put that in there just so people who are trying to join a random group for writers have some context. And then another suggestion is to ask for a pain point. What are you struggling with right now? What is one thing you wish you could get done this year? What is something that you need help with? However you want to ask it, because if you are kind of building a business around creating books and content to help and serve other people, this can help you know what people need. And there was a great episode recently of the Fizzle Show where Steph, who is a part of their team and also runs the Courage and Clarity podcast, talked about how she used that as she grew her group and realized every single person coming in, and she kind of kept a little spreadsheet of this, every person coming in said they struggled with time. And so she created a new lead magnet related to time and grew her list by like 700 people in a week, which is crazy. So, that's something to think about, is that pain point when you're asking. So be really intentional with those questions that you're asking. I did have a silly question in there and then I took it out. Although silly can also set the tone. So set the tone. I'll use that as a transition for one of the big things you can do as a group owner. You need to be present. You need to show up every day, especially when your group is small as it starts out and it grows slowly and you think, what am I doing? I'm talking to myself. No, you're not. A lot of people like to lurk. Sorry, Mark Zuckerberg, I know you want us to engage. There's a lot of lurkers out there. We just want to hang out. We see things, but we don't interact. Keep on posting, and you're the one who sets that tone. You set it with those questions. You set it with the banner. You set it with a pinned post, which you should absolutely have with kind of your group rules and expectations. You should have it in those expectations. You could put that in the description of the group, some of the expectations. You could put it in a pinned post. You could create a live video and then pin that to the top where you talk about what the group's about. You could put it in the header image. You set that tone, the questions you ask, the way you talk to other people. And that's really vitally important and will absolutely be the success or failure of your group. Right there, how you show up. Now, not every group is that personal. And there are Facebook groups like the Instant Pot group. A brand started it and there are probably a bunch of admins because it's so many people. But that group is not about a person. It's about the Instant Pot. My group is, in many ways, it's built around me and the brand that I've created over at Creative Writing. That doesn't mean it's me. And you guys know if you're in there, I'm not constantly posting links to my stuff. I probably should post more links to my stuff. We have group discussions. I post links and news articles. We do polls. We have you guys asking questions. So we have share days. It's not just about me, but as the group owner, you set that tone. And so the tone might be more distant, but if you're creating a group, my guess is you want to be more engaged and have that community and the kind of conversations with your people. So show up, treat people well, set that tone. The last thing I want to say is don't focus on fast growth or numbers. Don't get obsessed about how big your group is. Treat the group, every member in it, treat that group as important VIP people. Whether it's 40 people, 4,000 or 400,000, whatever, maybe you can't treat them as people of 400,000. There's too many people. I don't even know how you'd manage that group, but you want to treat them as though they're the most important people ever. And if you think about the fact, I think I said this in the last podcast episode on Facebook groups, episode 70, think about if you had those 40 people in a room and they're all sitting there waiting for you to say something. That's a pretty awesome group, okay? So don't discount the numbers. Don't worry about fast growth. I think it's really important to have a manageable number of people in your group. And my group's growing slow enough that it's fine. But once we get to around 2,000 people, I may close it to new members for a while just because I don't want it so big that we can't talk and that I'm constantly putting out fires, which brings us to behavior. So let's go and talk about how to behave in a Facebook group. And this is where I'm going to get ranty and I'm going to use examples that are mostly from other groups. You guys in this group are amazing. The people who aren't a good fit typically leave right away. And just as a side note, if I ever do email you, if you're a group member and I ever email you and talk to you about something like, hey, I deleted this because of this, please know I'm not trying to be a jerk and say you're in trouble. It's not that I don't like you. I didn't like your post, but I'm trying to really set the tone. And I'm a little bit more heavy-handed than some people may be in their groups. And so it doesn't mean you did anything wrong necessarily, but I like to, especially for people who are active members, I'm not going to kick you out if you do something that violates the rules or it doesn't fit. Like we had a thread going for Facebook pages and a couple people actually, not just one, posted links to their groups and I deleted those links and said, hey, we're not doing that now. We'll talk about groups, which we will have a thread in the Facebook group sharing Facebook groups. So just so you guys know, I'm a little bit more heavy-handed. If you've ever gotten an email from me, I still really like you. I'm so glad you're in the group. So most of these practices I don't see in my group. I see a little in this group. I see a lot in other groups. So the first thing to realize is that, especially in the groups that are created by a person like my group, that's focused around my brand and my podcast, you can't just go in that group and poach members. There is so much teaching out there on going into Facebook groups and finding your ideal client, reader, customer, however you want to call them, your avatar. Great. But you can't just go into a group that someone has spent years. I've spent years building my group. There might be people who want to join your group, who want to buy your books, who want to do your things. But if you're someone who's creating really similar content to me, you can understand how that's like poaching and it's not really okay. And I see people doing this all the time. Consider making connections in the group. Don't think of it as a springboard, a piggyback, a free ride, an easy way for you to like, oh, I just can go in this group this person created because we have similar ideal readers and they could be my readers. Okay. Yeah. And you might make some connections, but I see a lot of people going right into these other groups. Someone has spent years building and time building and building relationships and then trying to just take the members. And I'm going to share an example. And this just drove me completely bananas. I recently saw a post from someone and they were doing what's called market research. And some groups outlaw this. So just be aware, you always have to read the group rules. That's like etiquette number one. Read the group rules, look in that sidebar to see if they have rules in the about, see if they have a pinned post, see if it's in the header. Market research is basically like when you go into a group and you're like, okay, I'm trying to create a course and here are the topic ideas. What do you think about topic A or topic B? Some groups that's okay and some of them it's not. And the reason it's not, you'll kind of understand as I give this example. So there was a guy who was doing that and he said he got all of these great responses to his idea. He was just testing one idea. It wasn't like A or B. It was like, here's my idea. Would you be interested in this? And he was literally just asking, would you be interested? But a lot of people are abusing that. They're asking to do something smarmy, which I'm going to talk about now. He was not, just to be clear, but the group owner kicked him out of the group and he didn't understand why. And here is why. So when he was sharing this in another Facebook group, this is Facebook group upon Facebook group, you guys, he started getting advice like this. Hey, you could hire someone on Fiverr, because apparently there are people that do this, who will go find all of those people's email addresses and profiles, and you can PM them, direct message them on Facebook through Messenger. You can email them right into their inbox because they can go find their information on their websites or on Facebook itself. And you can email them and say, here's my product. You can buy it now. I hate that, you guys. And that's something that I see people actually doing a lot. So he got kicked out of this group because the group owner suspected he was doing that. And I could tell from his question he wasn't. But the people answering the question in that way are the kind of people that are making groups stink. Because what they are doing is they're going in and asking a question where you think they're researching, but really what they're trying to do is get clients. Or they'll say things like this, and this one drives me crazy. I've got a new Instagram course. I need beta testers. How many of you are interested? And they go do this in a giant Facebook group of thousands of people. And I've noticed they do it a lot of times, like in the middle of the night when they know moderators are probably sleeping, middle of the night, like US time, especially if it's someone in the US. And then there's like a string of like 100 people, me. And then that person will go and comment on each of those and said, sent you a PM. Because if you message someone you're not friends with, it goes to an other folder. If you didn't know you had another folder, when you go into Messenger, you'll see it'll be like message requests, I think is what it says now, or other. There's like this little gray thing. It's easy to miss. You might have a bunch of messages in there. I get them a lot. And why they do that is so that that person will know like they have something in that other folder, the message requests. And what they do then is they try to sell their course to that person. Sometimes they don't ask permission. They will just make a post, see who comments, and then go do that to all those people and try to sell. And I've noticed more and more group owners saying things in the rules and having posts like, hey, do not private message people from this group trying to sell your services. And that is happening more and more and more and more. It's totally smarmy, you guys. Don't do it. Now, again, some of these things, there's a place where they could work well and be fine. If you're making authentic connections and people want to buy your product, that's fine. But when you go and hire someone on Fiverr to go look up email addresses and to go message all those people for you in Facebook because you want to just take advantage of somebody else's group and those people who did not ask you to message them, That's not okay. So this is one of the reasons that Facebook groups often have these really strict rules, is because people take advantage. Instead of using them for organic connection, they are gaming the system. They are piggybacking off of what someone else has built and just being gross. Nobody wants to get a private message. And we've talked about this in our group last week of just so many examples of smarmy things that people have done through Facebook Messenger and just, seeing you post in a group. I've had people see me post in a group and then private message me trying to sell me stuff. I hate it. Don't do it. Don't do it. So that's my ranty rant. That's the most ranty I'm going to be. But that example shows you what it looks like to piggyback. Cause I know so many of you guys that are already in my community, you will email me and am I being smarmy? And you're not, but I think I've made you paranoid because I've talked about this. The fact that you're wondering, it's one of those things where the fact that you're even wondering if you're smarmy tells you that you're probably not, because the people who aren't worried about it at all. They know exactly what they're doing and they're being gross and they know it and they don't care. So, that's important. Make connections. And things may happen organically. You might form collaborations. You might sell some products, but don't be gross. Don't teach. That basically means don't go into someone else's Facebook group, especially if you're in a Facebook group of someone who has similar audience to you, and then go write this giant long post about a business lesson. That's not your group. Make your own group, post it in there. Don't drop your affiliate links. That's usually a rule. If it's not, it's an unspoken one. I've had people drop links to affiliate programs that I'm an affiliate for in my own group. And I'm like, you guys, this is my group. I built this group. If the person wants to buy this, they should buy it from me because I've been here teaching about it. Don't do that. And then don't do the thing where you're PM me because I've got it. You're still piggybacking off of them. You're just doing it privately where I can't see. So again, build your own group, build your own audience, and then sell to them there. Don't try to sell in someone else's group. It is good to know, again, the group, if it's more centered around a specific person or not, because that's going to change the way that some of these rules look. But again, if you go into a group and look at the rules, you're going to know. If you're in fewer groups, you're going to be invested more. You're not going to get confused. I've had people come into my group and post, promotional things like dropping links to their blog post or their product. And I delete them because that's only allowed on the weekends where we have share threads and we support each other. That's the goal, not just to drop your link. Because if everyone just drops the links and runs, it's not effective. You got to drop a link, go check out other people. And I've erase the post. And then the next day they do the exact same post again, because what they're doing is they have a post, they copy and paste it, and they go into 50 groups and do it. So don't do that, at which, if you're in fewer groups, you're not going to get confused. Cause I had emailed this one particular girl one time. I was like, hey, you can't do that in here. And she did the next day. And I was like, hey, we talked about this yesterday. And she's like, oh, I got confused because I'm in so many groups. Don't be in that many groups then. I say that as someone who's a member of over 300, but whatever, I'm not going and doing stuff like that. If you're cross posting, and that means if you are copying and pasting something in a bunch of groups, say that it's cross posted, because here's what happens. And this is just my personal thing. This is not super smarmy. I don't like it. If you're friends with that person, or if you're in several groups with them, in your news feed, often you will see all of those in a row. So you will see that Sandy went and posted the same exact thing, word for word, copied and pasted in 5 different groups. And I have seen this so many times, mostly not from you guys at all. I've seen a little bit from you guys sometimes asking questions. If you're going to do that, just say cross-posted, because for me, it's really frustrating if you're going to ask people to take the time to answer your question or comment on a link, and you're just really dropping it everywhere. That's not real conversation in a group. That's kind of it's not like you're being self-promoting, but it's also not really being engaged. If you want to ask a bunch of people, maybe try one group first and then go to another group if you don't get the answer. Because I think sometimes the cross-posting, you're getting answers, you're taking up all these different people's time. They're all saying the same things. Ask one group and then go to another, or just say cross-posted. Because I will tell you, I'm much less likely to answer a cross-posted post. So be upfront with people about that. That's just my personal thing. I think if you're going to really be invested in a group, which is the point, then you shouldn't be dropping things that you copy and paste into 50 groups anyway. Avoid like for like threads and share for share. And what that means is if you're trying to build up your page or your blog comments, any group that requires you to, if you drop a link, to go do whatever on every single other thing in the thread, it's not a good idea. You're not getting organic engagement. It is not helping you in the long run to get 400 likes on your Facebook page through a like for like thread on Facebook. And it just isn't, especially when Facebook is, shutting down pages, not shutting them down, but shutting them down the algorithm so you can't see them if there's not engagement. If you have a page full of likes that no one actually likes you, no one's ever going to see you because your whole page is filled with dead people. So don't join those kinds of groups. If you go into a group and that's all it is, maybe leave. I don't know what value it's going to add to you. The numbers are so attractive, and I know the urge is there, but don't do it. The share for share groups, I'm in some groups where you can share, like you can just literally, it's about dropping your link, and it's very focused, like parenting. You can drop your parenting link. And then as people are trying to fill up their Facebook page or Facebook group with content, they can go see all the links in that group and if any are a good fit. I think that's a great kind of group, but there's no requirement. When there's requirements, it gets really weird because you might have to like or share or do something with a post you're not actually interested in. It's not for your target people. So just be wary and make sure it's actually going to have some ROI, return on investment for you. Find the groups that have promo threads, make that work where people actually engage with each other and go and look at, posts where sometimes the only time I think it's good to be required. And I do ask you guys in our share weekends to go look for some other things, like try to find 2 things for every one you post. And I know there's some other groups that do that where they say, if you're going to do this, go like something else or comment or share. If it's one of those ones where it's like, you have to like the 3 above you, that's hard because again, you may not be interested unless the group is super niched. You may not like those 3. Your audience may have no interest in them and you have committed yourself to sharing them if you join in that thread. So just be aware. And again, be aware of the market research questions. It's great to go into a Facebook group and kind of bounce ideas off of people, but some groups say, no, you can't do it at all. And usually that's the bigger business groups where people are really taking advantage. But do just be wary of that. Just think about why you're doing the things you're doing. And it is okay to make connections that may lead to sales for you in someone else's Facebook group. It is. It does happen. But if your primary reason for being in creative writing is to find clients and readers, then you're missing out. You're missing out for you because you're missing out on all of the great community and other things that you could have. So go into groups connecting naturally. Let it happen naturally. Don't be a vulture just circling around waiting for someone to ask a question about your topic and then jump in there with the answer so that you can get them to hire you as a coach. Usually it's really transparent to people and it just gets gross and smarmy. So those are a lot of things I've just thrown at you. If you need to see it in written form, get some links and ideas, you can go to creativewriting.com/125 for episode 125 to see the links and shares. And I'll link to some of the other things I've written about Facebook groups and pages lately. So if you're trying to up your Facebook game, you will have resources at your fingertips. I want to close out by inviting you guys to join the Creative Writing Facebook group. If after listening to this, you're like, I don't want anything to do with that, then don't come join. But if you're like, yes, this resonates with me and I want a community of people, because for as much as I've griped about things, again, a lot of this is not happening in my group because you guys are amazing. The community there is fantastic. I've had people tell me it's their favorite group on Facebook, which makes me so happy, or that they cut down on their Facebook groups but stayed in my group because they love it. And it really is fantastic, you guys. It's a great group of people. So that is creativewriting.com/community. And if you want to get my weekly emails where you're going to hear about resources like this and resources from other places, news that you need to know, then you're going to want to go to creativewriting.com/quick fix to get the quick fix emails on Fridays. That's it for today. Facebook groups are amazing. Create one if it suits your goals. But don't waste your time if it doesn't. So with that being said, thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast. If you like what you hear, will you share it with a friend? That is the best thing you can do. And I've heard this again and again with podcast marketing. The best thing you can do for your podcast is create great content that people want to share. So if you love this episode, share it. You can share the link to the blog post, creativewriting.com/125. You can share the link to Apple Podcasts. I'm on Spotify, Google Play. I'm on Stitcher. I am not on SoundCloud. I'm a lot of other places. iHeartRadio, you can find me. So send some people my way. Now, go create content that you love and serve your people well.